Well, for the first time since he was drafted into the NHL, Connor Bedard is coming back to Bridgestone Arena. Big showdown with the Blackhawks this weekend. How do the Preds win? We'll talk about it today on the Locked On Predators podcast.
Your Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making the Locked On Predators podcast your first listen of the day. Every single day, we are your free daily Nashville Predators podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, I want to start with a special shout out to our loyal Locked On Pred heads out there, the everydayers who tune into every single show. We love you guys. We appreciate the support you give us week in, week out. I'm Nick Morgan. I'm a writer at Penalty Box Radio, and I have a partner in crime.
You do. I'm Ann Kimmel. I'm a writer at the Hockey News.
Today's episode also brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. It's Friday, and that means it is the return of Takes from a Hat, our Whose Line Is It Anyway inspired segment where we just battle on a number of NHL topics, basically whatever the hat tells us to do. There might be some Taylor Swift related stuff in here today. Probably a lot of you just immediately shut off your streaming service if you had just heard that. It's good. It is hockey related.
It is hockey related.
We got to point to it. Also, some interesting takes on NHL coaching changes and overtime rules. Yeah. So all of that and more coming up on today's show. But first, the big story for the Nashville Predators this weekend. The Chicago Blackhawks come to town, and that means the return of a much talked about player, somebody that I think Preds fans have been dying to see really since this past summer, somebody that I think is going to get a big reaction at Bridgestone Arena. And that is, Ann, the return of Jared Tenorti to Bridgestone Arena. Sure to be just an emotional moment as Preds fans just remember all of those great memories.
That's going to be a tribute video to remember, friends.
Yes, this is like PK Subban in Montreal. God, this is going to be such a fantastic moment. Yeah. Also, Connor Bedard is going to be there too.
Yeah. He travels with the team as well.
Yeah, Connor Bedard is also there. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the big headline, and is just, the Connor Bedard Blackhawks now. And it really does feel like the Connor Bedard Blackhawks now because he has stepped up and is starting to look like that game-changing player that everybody, in the hockey circle kind of figured he would be, after a couple of years. He is, by his just sort of taken the lead in rookie scoring for both goals and points, and just sort of grabbed it by its haunches and pulled it back in, and he has control of it now. Yeah. He leads the Blackhawks in scoring with 13. It's interesting just to see his development because, he's still definitely a young player. There's definitely some moments where you're like, oh, there is Connor Bedard, the rookie. Right. And then there are moments where you watch Connor Bedard and it's like, oh, this is a guy who's going to be an absolute beast.
Yeah.
For a long time.
He really makes such an impression. When we were working at the draft, you see him and he's just a very unassuming looking kid who you think maybe works part-time at Dippin' Dots. And then you see the hoopla that was around him at the draft and basically everywhere he goes. And I do want to say kudos to this young man and for the village that surrounds him, because he's handled just an absolute bizarre experience so well. But Connor Bedard on the ice is a whole thing. Yesterday, I referred to them as the Chicago Bedards instead of the Blackhawks. And that's a little bit what it feels like, because he is a little bit all things to all people. And I would agree with you. There have been little moments where you're like, okay, he's going to learn that. Like there's a rookie moment. But overall, he is so fun to watch. He is such a complete player. I sat down and watched the Blackhawks and the Lightning last night. They played. And Connor Bedard, great on the rush. Connor Bedard, incredible in front of the net. Connor Bedard, always getting back defensively. Connor Bedard, puck handling like a boss. Like this young man, he's got a lot going for him.
Yeah.
And if he wasn't a Blackhawk, I would be here for watching this.
Yeah. That's the downside to all this.
Yes.
It is he's going to be doing it a long time. And it's funny because, you kind of mentioned his, how he's been able to handle it. Corey Perry, who is also on the team, and Taylor Hall, who unfortunately is banged up, probably not going to play. Both of them have talked about it, because they're sort of like the veteran influences on the team. And Nick Foligno, I think, has said something similar as well. It's just, you watch him and just the way he's handling it is impressive. Like, the way he's, kind of being in the spotlight and not letting him bother him. And, you hear stories about how him and a lot of like the younger Blackhawks, guys like Lucas Reichel and, Kevin Korchinski, some of these other rookies, and they're just, on the ice, just practicing and shooting, during practices because they just like being out there. They're having fun, kind of practicing. They're having fun learning, they're having fun, like trying different things to the point where like, there's a story one time where Corey Perry had to actually come to the ice with his little suit and tie. And it's like, guys, the bus is leaving. What the hell are you doing?
Let's go.
But it's just, you see glimpses of that work ethic. So, if you're the Nashville Predators, Anne, let's not take away from the fact that this is a very important game because this is the battle to not be the last place team in the Central Division. You're at home. There's going to be a lot of Blackhawks fans.
Tons of Blackhawks fans. Y'all just buckle up. They're coming.
A lot of Blackhawks fans at Bridgestone Arena. You need a win to kind of stop the bleeding here and maybe turn some of your decent play over the past two games into an actual tangible result.
Yes.
So what do you do if you're Andrew Brunette to kind of prevent this from becoming the Bedard show on your home ice?
Yeah, I think the Predators are really going to have to execute very, very well. And we've talked about it over the last couple of episodes where they have had pockets of the game that they let kind of get away from them. And this is one of those games where game management is going to matter. When Connor Bedard, when Connor Bedard scores a goal, you have to not be thrown back on your skates. You have to be able to respond. So I think this is one of those games where it's really going to test the thing that Andrew Brunette is calling out about the team. It's game management. It's responding in those moments. It's those few minutes after you get sucker punched. You've got to be able to counterpunch. And this game has a lot of weight to it. Who would have really thought? I mean, let's be honest. Did we really think this game was going to feel as big as it does? But like you said, this is who wants to be last in the Central and who doesn't. And, you're at home ice and you're playing the future star of the NHL. This is the time for the Nashville Predators to pull off a good, solid win. And they have to do it knowing that they may take some punches. So for me, game management is going to be huge. Andrew Brunette has really been working and talking with the team this week about that. Let's see if some of these veterans can lead the way with it.
Yeah, and if you're Philip Forsberg and Ryan O'Reilly, you're the line, and Roman Yossi's in this category too. You're the line that's probably going to get the Bedard minutes.
Yeah.
Unless, Andrew Brunette could go for like a more defensive oriented approach, but I wouldn't. I would imagine Philip, like the top lines are going to be against the top lines. This has to be your moment. And Philip Forsberg has been playing extremely well over the last little bit. Ryan O'Reilly, I think, has been playing extremely well over the last little bit. And I think this is an opportunity. It's like, okay, you got to win that battle.
Right.
On the ice. Like maybe Bedard, gets a few shots, but you have to be the one that kind of outscores them.
The puck possession.
Yeah, if you lose that battle, like the Blackhawks' depth isn't great, but who else on the Nashville Predators has really stepped up in the scoring department, especially now that Novak's gone. Yeah. One other thing is a bit of a roster change, kind of. Marc Del Gaizo reassigned to the Milwaukee Admirals. There was two possible things for this, and one is that Spencer Stastney maybe getting a look because we know he was called into the lineup a few days ago, or called up to the team a few days ago. The other theory is that one of either Ryan McDonagh or Luke Schenn could be back in the lineup soon.
Yeah, and I can tell you which one I think Barry Trotz really is hoping for.
I can tell the one that Ann Kimmel is really hoping for too.
Well, here I love them all. Spencer Stastney, I think, is somebody they want to get an early look at. Again, played really, really well at the end of last season. But if you are the Nashville Predators and you are going into this game Saturday, you want Ryan Patrick or Luke Schenn back in the lineup. Not only just for their veteran presence, for their calming presence in the game, which is something that really the whole locker room has talked about when it comes to Ryan McDonagh. Like, this dude is cool as a cucumber under all circumstances. Luke Schenn, Barry Trotz talked when he signed Luke Schenn. This is a guy that changes momentum in game. He disrupts things. He is a disruptor. That is exactly what the Nashville Predators need. They also want that big physical presence back. You see Connor Bedard, I know that he's going to put on some weight and some muscle as he goes, but they've got him in front of the net. You've got Corey Perry, which is a whole thing. Somehow he's going to escape from my invisible backpack of hockey grudges and play hockey Saturday. So you want physical presence too. So I think best case scenario, you get yourself Ryan Patrick or Luke Schenn back. Neither have skated with the team so far. We'll see if they skate today with the team at practice. Or you could see Spencer Stastney. I will say, I do hate to see Marc Del Gaizo go. I think he had 5 very impressive, solid, quality performances for the Predators. So shout out to Marc Del Gaizo, who absolutely killed it with his opportunity.
Yeah, agree. That's going to be a big Saturday afternoon game tomorrow. On Monday, we will have some takeaways from that, plus a little bit of an Avs preview. But for today's show, takes from a hat. Including some interesting topics on changes we'd like to see in the NHL. We will pull some questions and see which ones we get to debate and which ones will be saved for a rainy day. That's coming up in 1 second, but first I want to mention today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Guys, buying tickets to sporting events, concerts, all that good stuff is a stressful experience. There's all these hidden fees on some of these apps. Sometimes you don't know where your seat is, especially if you're going to a place you haven't really been before. Maybe there's obstructed view. Maybe there's, better seats elsewhere. Maybe there's a giant pole where you're sitting. That's where Game Time comes in. Game Time is the ticketing app designed to give you complete peace of mind with every purchase. Some of the features I love about Game Time: one is you get to see your seat before you buy. You get to see the exact view, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. They have all-in prices that show you total up front, so you're not slammed with all these hidden fees that you kind of complain about when you see your credit report. And you can buy tickets in seconds with 2 taps of your phone. And plus, Game Time always has great last-minute flash deals on everything from concerts to sports to music to comedy, much, much more. So if you want to take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time, download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, Ann, it is the return of Takes from a Hat.
Come on.
This is, if you've ever seen Whose Line Is It Anyway, this is basically Scenes from a Hat. We stole that right from them, where we have hockey-related topics that we want to discuss, put them in a hat, draw them, and let the discussion flow. Some interesting ones in here today. So, Ann, would you like to start us off?
I will start. So just so everybody sees, I'm really not cheating. Not that you can really cheat at Takes from a Hat, but
yeah, I mean, no. Oh, what's this? Yeah.
There you go. Oh. Okay, this one involves a timer, but don't worry, I'll keep the time while you answer the question.
Okay.
Phil Tomasino has had an up and down start to the season. He's been a healthy scratch for 7 games. You have 10 seconds to give him a fast talking pep talk. What do you say to Phil Tomasino?
When do I start?
Hold on. Go.
Look, man, you're a young kid in the NHL. You're going to have some ups and downs, but you got to start being the leader of these young guys. And that involves being able to have some chemistry with other teammates.
Very good. That's excellent.
Yeah. You can't just use Michael McCarron as your security blanket every time you're on the ice.
Hey, now, look, here you can say what you want to say, but Tomasino and McCarron, they have some chemistry, and the Predators just aren't picking it up.
Yeah.
They aren't picking it up this season.
What would be your one? That's because 10 seconds is 10 seconds. I feel like if you're Andrew Brunette, it's just you're like shouting on your way to the bathroom or something like that.
Yeah.
You're doing good. But what would your one takeaway in a speech to Tomasino be? Like, what would be the point you highlight?
See, I asked the questions. I don't really prepare to answer them, but what would be the point that I would highlight? I think just persevere. You've got to let the frustration, and I know that there is frustration. You've got to let the frustration of the situation sit to the side. You've got to focus on what you can do on the ice. And it's hard. Look, there's not a player on this roster that does not want to be out there. This has got to be frustrating for Tomo. But sure. I think you've just got to focus on the ice and let your feelings go.
Yeah, maybe it's a do what you would do. Just do what you need to do to get better. Don't worry about the timeline.
Yeah.
Look at guys like Alex Carrier. Look at guys like, Marc Del Gaizo that have had, kind of a weird role to the NHL. Guys like Tommy Novak. Just be ready whenever you're ready. Just keep growing. I think that's a good message. Yeah. All right, let's see. What do we have here?
Give me something good.
Oh, here we go, Ann.
All right.
All right, so we talked about how Connor McDavid wasn't exactly thrilled with the coaching change in Edmonton. So this brings up an interesting point. Should players be consulted on NHL coaching changes? And maybe not all players, but maybe like the captain, associate captain, some of the veterans, should they be consulted at all when teams make a coaching change?
Okay, I'm going to say yes. I am. I'm going to say yes. And here is why. I think, well, first of all, we've seen this whole thing in Edmonton kind of roll out. And I don't know that it's been as smooth as maybe they wanted it to be. So I think learn from what you see other people do. But I do think that it's good to get a perspective that's something other than the front offices. Because I think the front office has one perspective of what's happening in the locker room. And of course, they're very results oriented. The front office has to be about the results. But I do think you need a player in the locker room who can give you an honest assessment of, hey, the coach doesn't have it. Like he doesn't have the room.
Yeah.
Or, you know what, this is going to set us back. And I am surprised because I believe the word in Edmonton is they did not chit chat with their leadership group. And I would be very surprised. I look back and I wonder, what were the conversations when Peter Laviolette was left? Did they talk to Roman Josi? Did they talk to some of the veterans? I don't know. I do think it's good to get that perspective because it's very different player-coach relationship versus front office evaluating a coach. So I would say yes. What do you think?
It's interesting because this is a battle that we've seen in the NBA a lot, where it's like, okay, is this the players or is this, the management doing their job and finding the best way to do the players? I mean, we have seen a couple of players, kind of be like, I don't really like working with this coach, or, I want my guy to come in and, you get like a former player that comes in and takes over the team. And sometimes, it works, like LeBron James, kicking some guy out of LA and bringing his team. or no, he bringing in Ty Lue to coach the Cleveland Cavaliers. And they won their first title. But then you have a situation like, you hear all this talk about the players wanting a new voice, and we want them to make this trade and we want them to make this trade, and then it doesn't work out, and then it's but they're the ones that get fired. So at some point it's like, like the players deserve a say, but you're also trying to build a team beyond just one or two players. Like Connor McDavid. Look, Connor McDavid, you might absolutely love Jay Woodcroft. Like LeBron James, you might absolutely love whoever the Lakers coach is now.
Right.
But you're not the only person on this team. We have people on this team that need to step up when you're not there. And that is the GM's responsibility to kind of be like, okay, what does the team need? And that is his job, to be responsible for personnel. And I just feel like sometimes when players step up and be like, this is what we want, or we're not playing, and it backfires, the players don't get fired. It's the GM and the coaches that get fired. So I do think, maybe I agree with you. Maybe there is some sort of balance that a GM needs to maybe go to the players and just be like, what's going on in the locker room? What's your take on this person? What's your take on this? But the players aren't the ones that make personnel decisions. That's the GM. That's the front office. And they're the ones that write the paychecks and need to determine what's best for the organization moving forward. And maybe that, results in something that the players don't like.
I do think you have to be careful not to let the tail wag the dog. I would agree with you, because GMs tend to look at a franchise, 5 years out, whereas players and coaches probably look at the next 20 games the next season. So I do agree with you. You can't let the tail wag the dog, but I also think you do the new head coach no favors when you don't understand where the locker room is.
Yeah, there's got to be a balance.
Yeah,
there's got to be a nice balance somewhere. More takes from a hat coming up, including a couple of fun ones in just a minute.
That's right. First, want to let you know this episode's brought to you by our great friends at Jase Medical. I have shared this story before. Several years ago, my husband and I were traveling overseas. We were there for about 2.5 weeks. We were thrilled to be there. But during our trip, I unexpectedly got sick. I was half a world away from my primary care doctor. We had to kind of walk around until we could find a pharmacy and communicate as best we could to get something over the counter. And I simply had to suffer through and make do until I could get home and get my hands on the prescription medication that I really needed. This doesn't have to happen anymore. Whether you're overseas, across the country, or just dealing with an interruption in medication due to supply chain issues or a natural disaster, all you need is Jase Medical's Jase Case. The Jase Case contains 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use, and it is a very easy process to get yours. All you need to do is to fill out a quick online form, and in some cases, you're going to jump on a quick call with one of their board-certified physicians. This is doctor created and it's doctor recommended. Jase Medical can also provide you with a year's supply of many common daily medications as well. So if you are interested in having a Jase Case on hand, or want to learn more about getting a year's supply of your daily medications, go online right now and check out jasemedical.com. You can use our promo code Locked On to get $20 off your purchase. That's Jase, Jase medical.com, and promo code Locked On for your discount at checkout.
All right, Ann, more takes from a hat. What do you got for me?
All right,
let's go through a couple rapid fire style.
Rapid fire ones. Oh, this is a conversation I had with Glenn Dreyfus, who covers the Seattle Kraken for some different outlets. Does an NHL head coach need experience playing in the league to be good at his job? Or is a head coach without NHL experience, or does a head coach with NHL experience have an advantage over a coach who does not? Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And I don't think there's a one size fits all answer to everything.
Mhm.
It's different in every place. Like sometimes there may be an NHL coach who can kind of lean on players and be like, hey, I've been here before. I know what it's like. I know what some players need. I may be what some players aren't. And then there's, maybe some former NHL players that don't translate that very well or have the knowledge, have the experience, but it just doesn't translate to actually, rubbing off on your team, or maybe you can't translate that.
Yeah.
Remember Wayne Gretzky was a coach in the NHL, and it did not work out very well.
Yeah.
But then you also have some X's and O's guys where it's just guys that come in. Maybe they played like junior college hockey, but just never really did well in the pros. But they have kind of like a good eye for working with people. They're like, the Ted Lassos, like they know what the players need.
Yeah.
They know, they can kind of break down a game and know like what players need to get better. So it's not a one size fits all situation. We've seen, system X's and O's guys absolutely flame out as coach in this league.
Right.
We've also seen some really good players get behind the bench and flame out in this league. And then we've had people of both sides be very successful. So it's not a one size fits all situation.
Interesting. Yeah, I think it's a good take.
Yeah. All right. Let's see what we have here. All right. Here we go. Here's a fun one for you, Anne.
Come on.
So the NHL is playing in the Global Series in Sweden right now. They went to Australia earlier this year. What is a dream location that if NHL put a game there, Preds or otherwise, you would 100%, no questions asked, spend all the money in the world that you have to go?
I have two answers tied for first. One of them happened and I whiffed spectacularly. That's Prague, my favorite city I've ever been to.
No.
I did not, y'all. My mom and I were going to go, which is a whole nother adventure. But I did not have my passport and couldn't get it in time. My second would be Riga, Latvia. Now, I love Latvia. My daughter was born in Latvia, but Latvians love their hockey. These people are bat poop crazy about their hockey. And Riga is this really incredible city. I would go. I would figure out the passport situation. I would sell something on the black market, kidney or otherwise, and I would go if it was in Riga, 100%.
I kind of pictured Riga for you. Like that's
It's the most amazing city.
Yeah, and that is a hockey city.
They're crazy. It's so fun.
Yeah, a couple of legendary NHLers too. So
that's right. Come on. If you could slot in any forward into the top line with Philip Forsberg and Ryan O'Reilly, who would it be and why? Kind of on that weird spot where we've had Parson and Nyquist. Who would you put with Philip Forsberg and the factor? Fill in the factor.
Michael McCarron.
Are you mocking my question?
Yeah. No. Serious answer. Serious answer. Can I go off the board with this?
You can do anything you want to. It's takes from a hat.
I would call up Joakim Kemell and put him on there.
That is fascinating.
Because look, Ryan O'Reilly is a good setup man. Philip Forsberg is really good at driving offense. Joakim Kemell is a finisher. Somebody with a really good shot. Philip Forsberg, good scorer, not necessarily a sniper by any means. Joakim Kemell has a sniper. And with him on that line, it's kind of like the third member to maybe be the cleanup guy.
Come on.
That is a lot. That's a 100 point per person line.
Right, we could also call it
Kemell reaches his potential.
True. We could also call it Phil the Factor and the Finn. Like, how great would that line be?
That is a lawyer show from 1890 CBS right there.
Maybe it needs workshopped, but no, that's I love that idea.
Yeah. And if not him, give Evangelista a look.
Come on.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right. Here's maybe our last one for the day.
All right. Last one.
All right. We hinted about this earlier. Taylor Swift and Traves Kielce.
Come on.
They're the it couple right now.
Yeah.
We need you, Anne, to ship a Nashville Predators celebrity couple. You can't say Mike Fisher and Carrie Underwood.
Okay. Does it have to be a player? Like with a player?
No, but I guess, I mean, are you breaking up Barry Trotz and Andrew Brunette's marriages, or?
No. I'm just saying, like, do we want like a celebrity couple that's not a player and a person? But here's what I'm going to do. First of all, I'm going to go Luke Evangelista because he's totes adorbs.
Okay.
And I think people are invested in him, and he says adorable things. And then who would be a great girlfriend for him? Who help me with this? How can we matchmake Luke Evangelista to grow the game?
Olivia Rodrigo? Billie Eilish?
I
Like,
love
I'm trying to think of somebody
Yeah.
age appropriate for like a 21-year-old.
21-year-old. Yeah.
Like who? God, I don't know.
That's a tough one. We need a good girlfriend, because I do think that Luke Evangelista is comfortable enough in his own skin, like Travis Kielce, where he could date a superstar and be like, nah, we're good. Like, I don't think he would be remotely intimidated, which is what I love about Travis Kielce. I am, in fact, over invested in Taylor and Travis. It's just who I am.
That makes one person on this podcast.
I am invested enough for both of us, so take this one off. But yeah, I like Olivia Rodrigo. She's totes adorbs too.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of just like the next person that would be like somebody that age that would be just like the next, whatever they do is under like public eye.
Public eye, yeah. Here's the problem with me. Everybody seems young enough, but probably they're old enough to be his mother to me. So it's tough. But we need to find Luke Evangelista, somebody like Olivia Rodrigo. I think that's a great one. They would be cute.
There we go. Hey, Olivia Rodrigo, if you're listening to a Nashville Predators centric podcast,
have we got a suggestion for you?
Yeah, he will be good for you.
Yes.
We'll
introduce you. We'll
your driver's license to come down here. The relationship will not be brutal.
Look at you.
Those are the 3 Olivia Rodrigo songs I know.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, if you're listening, we'll set you up. And if you're Luke Evangelista,
we're really sorry.
We're so sorry about all of this.
Yeah,
Predators versus Blackhawks tomorrow at Bridgestone Arena should be a big game. Lots of Blackhawks fans. So for Preds fans, you're gonna have to come out, be loud, get behind the team. And where can people find your work?
You can find my work online at InsideThePreds.com. You can find me on social media at ANK_Mama on Ice.
You can find me at penaltyboxradio.com or follow me on X at _NSMorgan. That's going to do it for us on today's Locked On Predators podcast. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Back Monday with an all-new episode. We'll see you then.